Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. I heard a comedian once talk about how he woke up one morning and his wife was angry at him. As he tried to discern what he had done to make her angry, he soon learned he hadn't really done a thing. She was mad at him because of something he had done in a dream she had had the night before. What can you do? Nevertheless, sometimes we need to listen to our dreams, and that was especially true in Bible times. They believed that God communicated to people through dreams. We might remember the stories of Jacob dreaming about a ladder going to heaven, or of Pharaoh's dream about fat cows and thin cows, and how Joseph interpreted them to mean that there was a famine coming. Daniel interpreted dreams, and when King Herod wanted to kill the babies in Bethlehem to try to get rid of Jesus, God warned Joseph, the husband of Mary, to flee to Egypt in a dream. And Joseph paid attention and did. These are just a few examples of many in the Bible. During Holy Week, there is another of this type of dream. As Jesus is on trial before Pilate, his wife sends him a message. It says, "Have nothing to do with this man, because I have suffered greatly because of a dream about him." Somehow she had dreamed about what was going on around Jesus and understood the dream as a warning from God. Now, a couple of things we should notice here. It would be highly unusual for the governor's wife to involve herself in matters of state like this. In the society of that day, a woman's place was in the home, and she didn't involve herself in her husband's affairs, and in particular in matters of politics and government. This dream must have disturbed her greatly. And by the way, there's no evidence that Pilate listened to her, except for this. Her advice was to have nothing to do with Jesus, and as the trial concludes, Pilate washes his hands as if to say, "I am having nothing to do with what you are doing to this man." The other interesting thing to ask is how we know about this note between Pilate's wife and her husband. How would the early church find out that this private note was sent or what it said? Some have speculated that later in life, Pilate's wife became a believer herself and told the early church about it. Now, for a few minutes, I want us to consider the guards in Pilate's courtroom. These are the guards who are mentioned in the story as mocking Jesus and how he claimed to be a king, putting a purple robe on him and crown of thorns and spitting on him and hitting him with sticks. This is another part of the story that we know about, but we don't think about often. I remember when I was in Israel, one of the places we went was to the site of Pilate's praetorium, or his courtroom. Our guide took us over to show us etched into the stone floor some odd lines that were in a square and then crisscrossed each other. He pointed out that this was scratched into the stone in the time of Jesus by the Roman guards who were trying to occupy themselves during the boring times when nothing was going on, but they had to be on duty. The square was the game board for what they called the Game of Kings. The way they played it was that each player had a stone figure that had to move from one location to another. However, when it was your turn to move, you had to move your piece by scooting it along with a stick. Remember that these are stone figures on a rough stone floor. As you moved the figures with a stick, it was easy to have your figure topple over, and when that happened, you were out. The winner, or king, was the player with the last figure still standing. What all this means is that when they mocked Jesus and put a cloak and crown of thorns on him and then struck him with sticks, is that they were adapting the game, and instead of using a stone figure, they were using Jesus, who claimed to be king. It was a popular game in the time of Jesus, although I doubt Jesus enjoyed it very much. God can speak to us however God chooses, sometimes even in dreams. How can we open our ears and our hearts to hear God better? How can we live with Jesus as the true King of our lives? Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.